to shamelessly react to this video, which is also a reaction of the recent Jesse Michaels interview of Randy Anderson, the U.S. Green Beret, that saw some strange alien, well, possibly alien technology um, at a U.S. Navy base. Let's check it out.
Hey people, I don't normally do what you could call reaction videos, but I'd like to react to Jesse Michaels' interview with Randy Anderson, who's a Navy Green Beret, who told a story about how he was exposed
He's
to
an Army Green.
extraterrestrial technology at a Navy facility called Camp Crane, which is a support activity center for the US Navy. Now, what do I know about that? Not much, but I do happen to have two close friends who said something very interesting that I'd like to share with you today. First of all, here's a clip from Randy Anderson on the Jesse Michaels video.
Yeah, this is like the best part of the
explaining
right
how
here.
he was shown extraterrestrial technology.
We went to another part of the facility. We went to.
You know, it's so weird. I haven't heard of Jesse Michaels before until maybe 2 weeks ago. He's got such crazy, amazingly good content, and his view numbers, his view counts aren't even that high. And it's like, how was it hidden? He basically puts out these documentaries, has like the best guests in the UFOlogy space. It's really weird that all of a sudden he's getting pushed so hard, but you've never heard of him before. At least I didn't.
Another building. In that building, we went into an elevator. We took an elevator down, which that was the first odd thing, is that it felt like we went down significantly further than like you would think you would. I mean, it was just awkward. It just stood out.
You went way underground.
I don't know if it was way, but it was further down than like a few floors, you know, so I don't know how far, I don't know how fast the elevator was going. I didn't know I needed to pay attention to it at the time. But I'm observing, you know, I'm kind of, it's starting to feel different, you know. The mood has definitely become more serious, you know. The people we were with seemed serious, and me and the other guy were just being quiet and, you know, not showing any emotion as we're trained to do. So we get under there, door opens, we go through a security type checkpoint. I remember the first thing that stood out to me was that it was significantly more modern than everything up top.
Yep.
And that was odd. The lighting and everything seemed more modern, just seemed more upkept.
Yeah, kind of state of the art.
It was very streamlined how things operated down there, so you could tell it was like very regimented. Just like you walk on this, everybody walked on the right side to go down the hall. People coming this way walked on their right. It's just, and there was like a line on the wall that you followed to different areas. You know how like a hospital sometimes have like a line to follow
Reminds me
to
of
this
Half-Life or
emergency
something.
room. It was kind of that seemed like it was that. I mean, I wasn't 100% paying attention to that. I had observed it upon getting under there, or getting down there. We moved through a security checkpoint, and then we started looking at some foreign weapons stuff, and they were telling us about some Russian and Chinese weapon systems that were captured. I don't want to go too into the details on this stuff. It's still within.
I still don't know what's up
kind
with
of close
that
proximity to that.
Sure.
gravitronic
I
stuff.
don't want to go too far.
At any point, did you say, "Hey, why are we down here?"
Hell
You're just
no.
kind of, yeah.
And you wouldn't. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you wouldn't.
yeah.
It's not the way things are done. So
Yeah.
you just do. You
Yeah,
know, you just
totally.
do. Ended up going through another security checkpoint, which that was odd because we had already gone through a significant level of security, and so I thought that was odd. This was more like going into a skiff, and so yeah, it was that level of security, which is the highest level of security I've seen or dealt with, and so that was strange too, because we had already gone through a pretty robust security checkpoint to get under there. After that, we moved on down another hallway and got into an area that had a marking on the wall and said off-world technology.
It said off-world technology.
That, yeah.
That's insane.
So immediately my bells go
Yeah,
off.
I think
Was
it's
it
legit.
engraved?
I think it's legit.
Or was it?
No, it was.
Did it look like it was written in marker or something?
No,
or
it was, but it wasn't like it was like permanent. It was like somebody like stuck a placard in, kind of.
Okay.
You know, like, so I don't know. It could have been a setup. It could have been something just thrown
Sure,
together.
sure.
But it could have been something that's just how they had.
But
it.
it said off-world technology.
Yeah, that obviously immediately started to feel what the fuck is going on, right? Yeah. So me and the guy are looking at each other. The other guy, he's another Green Beret. We're like, what the fuck? You know, kind of giving each other that look, and yeah, that was where the weird shit started. So yeah, we go into the room, and the one room, these significantly higher level of technology, like the lighting even looked, you know, everything was just, it was more, it was just a different vibe, man. I don't know how else to describe it. Like I said, the lighting was different. The walls had like maybe, I would assume, some type of Faraday material. Like everything was just a higher level of detail. You know?
Yeah.
The first object was a metallic basketball-sized sphere, and it was above a podium, and looked like it was just levitating above the podium.
Levitating
Yeah.
above the podium.
Mhm.
So there was space between the sphere
Yes.
and the podium itself.
Correct. And I remember at one point,
What's
like,
the name
trying
of
to
that
angle
sphere
myself.
that
How is that?
it was like a metal
It could
sphere?
have been some sort of magnetic.
It
Maybe.
was like a metal sphere in Florida. I think it was. Oh, reminds me of that. I can't remember the name of it. I saw it on a Y-Files one time. It was, yeah, it like moved on its own. Reminds me of that a little bit.
Maybe.
Levitation. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
But it's just levitating there.
It was just levitating
Did it
above it.
look like a prosaic, like this wood table, where if you were to, touch it, it would act like a normal object? Did it look holographic? What did it look like?
So okay, that's a good question. Then what stood out to me was the way the metal looked. It looked unnatural. And I talked with Gerb about this, and he kind of dug in on this. I mean, I'm like, dude, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is it didn't look natural. It didn't look like anything I could compare it to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, that is a fascinating story, and Randy Anderson seems very believable. He's very open to Jesse Michels, and no, I believe he saw something. But I've got two close contacts who regularly advise me, who also had seen the Jesse Michels video, and they have very interesting and slightly divergent opinions about what really might have happened. Firstly, a very fascinating and confirmative story from a defense contractor scientist I know, who's currently in the Far East, but worked for a large US defense contractor, and tells this amazing story. It's so similar to what the Jesse Michels interview said. It's uncanny. He was also taken in an elevator to an underground lab. He went through an initial security check into a facility with
There's a lot of underground labs
lines
out there.
along the corridor, like a hospital, just as the interview in Jesse Michels' show said. Then he also said he went through a second high security checkpoint, but he said he was warned of the use of possible deadly force if he and his colleague strayed off course. And then they
Jesus.
went down a high-tech corridor, similar to the interview that you've just heard, into an unmarked laboratory where he saw a floating silver orb. The silver orb that he saw was in a darkened room. It wasn't on a plinth, it was way at the back of the room, and he described it as spherical, hovering, and it seemed to be emitting some kind of light, as if it was floating in a puddle of luminous light or water. His contact told him, "This is our UAP, what do you think about it?" My contact said he was amazed to see it, and it sounds very similar, and was asked to approach it. When he walked towards it, he found himself back at the starting point. His colleague said, "What do you think of the UFO?" He said, "I can't go near it." He said, "That's very strange. A lot of people feel like that." it seems to react to different people in different ways.
Wow.
I think that's an amazingly similar description of a...
Yeah, I know there's a lot of UFO encounters or alien encounters where people claim to have like major psychological effects, like where they just are paralyzed, or they're like, or they maybe lose someone during the event like loses some memories, or they just can't, they're just frozen in place sort of. So it kind of sounds like that. So I think this stuff is legit.
Very similar facility. Underground, dual security checkpoints, and a spherical orb which seems to react to human contact. So we all saw the video at roughly the same time, and he contacted me and said, "Sounds like the same place, Simon." I went, "Oh, that's very interesting." And then out of the blue, I was contacted by somebody completely different with a slightly different take on the whole story. We have a family friend who deals with security clearances and actually vetting people. He said that the Randy Anderson story sounds very much like a vetting procedure. If you listen to the Jesse Michels long show, Randy Anderson also tells the story of how he was sent on a run, but when he was on the run, he noticed on trees there were numbers and faces pinned to the wood.
Okay.
And when he came back, he was quizzed about what he saw. He thought he was going on a run. It was obviously a test of various candidates to see who was the most observant. And this is the really interesting thing my contact said about this person's exposure to alien technology. It could exist. He's not questioning that. He asked this really interesting question. Why was Randy Anderson and the other Navy Green Beret actually showing the technology? I mean, they're not physicists, they're not scientists. There's no real advantage for them to know that that technology exists. It wasn't part of their daily procedure. What he thinks was really going on, and this kind of makes a lot of sense to me, is that the two Navy Green Berets were being checked out to see how they reacted when they were shown something weird. The two handlers who were there with them were really assessing how these two soldiers reacted to what could be genuine alien technology. Later on in Jesse Michels' interview, the Navy guy, Randy, says that it kind of shook him. He felt very upset and it questioned his faith. Now, that could be something that they wanted to weed out. Somebody who would be deeply upset by meeting an extraterrestrial or seeing some very odd
definitely
technology,
possible,
which might phase the commando. Right. So it
seems like it would be a lot of effort to manufacture this, like a movie set, basically, just to, analyze somebody's behavior and their reaction. It seems like a lot. I mean, and it's in this, you're setting up this thing in this underground facility. I mean, it's possible, but it just seems like it's so much harder than just putting up, the signpost set or the signs or whatever he saw during his run to test a candidate, right? I don't know. I think it's more likely that it's real. And then the other thing is, and maybe I'll pull it up after this, is when you watch the full video, he talks about sort of floating like hieroglyphics that appeared above I can't remember if it was above like the sphere or above like this weird gauntlet thing that he also saw at the site.
He can't do his job properly. Maybe they were exposing him to genuine weird stuff. It sounds like it is genuine to me, to see how he reacted. But whatever the big picture that really happened at Camp Crane Support Activity Center, I think it's very interesting. To me, it might be the best example that we now know that crash recovery has happened, that alien technology has been studied. The truth is out there.
Yeah, please, give Professor Simon his like, subscribe, follow, whatever, because he puts out some pretty interesting stuff. And then also the original Jesse Michels interview, that same deal. It's an amazing account of like what Randy there saw Randy Anderson saw. You know what? I'll pull up what I'm talking about with the hieroglyphics too. Okay, so I got to the scene where he starts talking about the hieroglyphic symbols. Here we go.
Or draw them up or what they mean or.
So I've randomly like I told you I meditate and all this stuff now, and during meditations I've had a couple times where I've thought about it and they've come into my thoughts. Also, the lawyer
Danny Sheehan,
yeah, he had talked about them, and he had drawn some that looked a lot like what I saw.
Like what
you know
you
what
saw.
that one you know what these remind me of? It reminds me a little bit of like Mayan numbers. You ever see those? Like I pulled it up. Let's see. So like check this out. A little bit like that, right? I guess it's different. You got the dots on both sides of the line, but reminds me a little bit of that. Just thought that was interesting.
So for context for the audience, Danny Sheehan in 1974 or 5 was taken into a SCIF, again, secret compartmentalized information facility in Washington, D.C., I believe at the behest of the incoming Carter administration, so it might have even been 76, and he was shown basically the Blue Book files.
Right.
And he's looking through the Blue Book files, and he sees this UFO crashed into the side of a mountain.
Okay.
And it's the dead of winter, and there's some Air Force officers present, and he sees on the rim of the UFO these hieroglyphic symbols.
The UFO had crashed into this field, and there was snow, and the dirt was all turned up and stuff, and the UFO itself was stuck in the side of this big embankment. In one of the photos, I could see these symbols that were all around the base of the dome, and I took out the yellow pad and I opened it up to the inside cardboard of it, and I slid it under the microfiche machine, and I focused it so that I could see the symbols, and then I traced the symbols exactly, verbatim, all the way around the half of the dome that I could see, and I just put them all. I just traced all of them.
I saw that show, and what he had drawn is very close to what I seen. And also, I want to touch on something else that this correlates with. Documentary that I saw on YouTube about DMT.
Yeah.
And these guys were doing experiments with DMT, and they found that everybody was seeing these same symbols when they did shine a laser a certain way, and
It's just so weird.
Diffracted the laser.
I feel like everybody is sort of on the same wavelength or consciousness as far as like certain strange parts of our existence or consciousness are like just cropping up everywhere these days. Like, the DMT stuff, the like near-death experiences, I think all the drone activity has really brought everything to the forefront, and it seems like the trend is sort of that maybe the recent activity, all the UAP and alien possibly, or drone, whatever, it's like there's a spiritual component to it that seems to be like a kind of a trending view on things.
Laser.
Yep.
In a way that you do like the double slit experiment.
Yes.
And in the diffraction, they saw these symbols, and those symbols are the same.
That's fascinating. Yeah, Danny Jones does this amazing show on this, and these guys they're doing DMT. They're showing a laser in a specific way exactly to create this diffraction effect, and then their kind of interpretation of this is like they're seeing almost like the source code, like a binary code behind
It's crazy
what we're seeing, which that sounds absolutely absurd. But if you take physicists like John Wheeler seriously, or people like Claude Shannon, who wasn't really more kind of information theory, but like maybe the universe is more information theoretic at its core, and we are rendering it in real time. And maybe when you take DMT, you ascend into these higher states, and you can actually look at the source code itself. It's fascinating.
And what does it mean then? If that
I'm gonna end it here, but like this is a great interview. Definitely check it out. Check out the full interview. Yeah, Jesse Michels, and he has a lot of great videos too. So check them all out. I've just started. I haven't watched them all yet, but I'm getting there. All right, let's see. Now, the one thing I keep hearing about Jesse Michels, like and I haven't really verified this, when I go on Reddit and I see him mentioned, I mean, everybody agrees that the content is great. But then there's also these links to Peter Thiel, apparently like funding his videos or some interaction from Peter Thiel, which, like, if you don't know, he's like this mega tech billionaire, and he's influential in politics too. And between that and Trump about to be inaugurated and claiming he's going to release UAP files, a lot of stuff is happening right now. And then there's the disclosure from what's his name, and then there's the claims from Dr. Stephen Greer that there's going to be major disclosure, I think even before Trump gets into office. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now, and it kind of seems to me like maybe there's all this off-world technology that has been hidden for decades. Who knows how long? Probably maybe since like Roswell, or maybe shortly after that. There's all this technology that's just been hidden, and it's been unable to be monetized. And maybe that's what this is all about, is getting hands on the technology now to actually utilize it, instead of just having it sit there because the deepest levels of the government are worried about defense concerns, and other countries getting it. Maybe that's what's going on right now, and there's just a push to get that technology and utilize it, and just make a shit ton of money. I really don't know. But it's really interesting stuff. There's so much happening right now. I can't get enough of it. But this is just, one aspect of it. There's just so much going on. But I'll end it there. And we'll take a look at some more videos soon.
Language of